Up next, we have a father from Newtown, Connecticut. Please help me welcome Bill Stevens.
Brought a little sign with me. A lot of us parents in Newtown, we formed a group because a lot of us support the Second Amendment, and not only do we support the Second Amendment, we exercise it. We are Newtown, and we choose freedom. I was going to invite some of my friends from Newtown, but there's such a huge crowd here. I think maybe about like 20, 25, I think. Using my Chris Matthews glasses, there's about maybe 100 people here today. But as I said before, there's only there's a small fraction of the many Newtown residents that, like me, we were certainly heartbroken over what happened in our town, but we strongly oppose the legislation that was signed by Daniel Malloy last year. And as we all know, it wasn't the AR-15 that killed 26 innocent people in my town. It was a mentally ill shooter who pulled the trigger, and this law does nothing to address that. But we all know it was never Malloy's intention to solve the real problem. All along, it was how best to exploit the tragedy in Newtown in order to advance their liberal gun control agenda. After a recent setback in courts, as Scott said earlier, Malloy told a resident at a town hall meeting, "Your side lost. Get over it." Yeah. Well, Governor, let me give you a refresher on Article 1, Section 2 of the Connecticut State Constitution, which reads, "All political power is inherent in the people. And all governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. And they, at all times, have an undeniable and indefeasible right to alter their form of government in such manner as they may think expedient." That's really what it says. So, Governor, our side lost. Get over it. There was a guy named John Paul Jones who once said to the British, "I have not yet begun to fight." But Malloy had some help up here at the Capitol. Help from an oath breaker, a guy named Senator John McKinney, who now wants to be our governor. I think he's Russian because he's got a funny middle name. It sounds like Musko. John Musko McKinney. He says we don't need more than 10 rounds in our guns, so-called high-capacity magazines. Well, John McKinney, you've been a politician for more than 10 years, and in my book, that's high-capacity politics, and we don't need you. Speaking of high-capacity magazines, I can't remember how many rounds I put in here this morning. Was it 10 or more? I forget. Well, maybe John could come over to my house and demand that I show him how many rounds I have in my magazine. Come on over, John. The German Shepherds will give you a nice warm welcome. Instead of chewing on deer bones, they can chew on a rhino. Come on over, John. You know where I live. And thanks to the Sipsey Street Irregulars, we know where you live too, John. And speaking of rhinos, as Scott said earlier, Mayor Mark Bowden of Danbury is still a member of Nanny Bloomberg's anti-gun slush fund, Mayors Against Illegal Guns. And he applauded Governor Cuomo when he signed the SAFE Act in my home state of New York, and now he wants to be our governor. Not happening. But the new castrati in the Connecticut GOP, as Rush Limbaugh says, they will stammer, but, we need these guys. They're fiscal conservatives. We need a moderate Republican in Connecticut to replace Malloy and fix the economy. Well, let me give the Connecticut GOP, and the national GOP for that matter, a lesson from old blood and guts himself, General George S. Patton, who once said, "I'd rather have a Panzer division in front of me than the French army behind me." And Patton's right. Why trade our liberal enemy, Dan Malloy, for an oath-breaking rhino as governor? Someone who will vote our rights away, but promises to fix the economy and lower our taxes. So you expect us to give up our unalienable rights, endowed by our Creator, for lower taxes? I'm sorry, but our rights are not for sale. This November, the great citizens, the patriots of Connecticut, we're going to choose our representatives and our next governor from a group of patriots who will uphold and defend the Constitution first. And as a bonus, hopefully they'll lower our taxes and improve the economy. This November, we're going to clean out the Capitol Zoo. No more donkeys and no more rhinos. Clean out the zoo. In closing, I have a question for you guys. How many of you have seen the movie 300? All right. Remember that scene when Leonidas and his men, they just left Sparta and they're marching along the path and they meet up with the Arcadians? And Leonidas asks what their profession is. And then afterwards, I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you to give me the same response. Let me ask you, Connecticut gun owners, what is your profession? Not too many of you saw that movie. Anyway, by that response, I can tell Daniel Malloy that I brought more soldiers than you. Thank you very much. God bless America. God bless the Constitution.